Welcome to Clandeboye Golf Club. Today we're going to show behind the scenes from start to finish building a golf green. This morning I'm just looking through David Jones's design for the 10th green on our Ava course. You can see the existing bunker that's coming out, and then this is a new bunker and the mounding round it. And you've got bottom tier and top tier, mounds at the back as well. Our friends at Moasure have partnered with us for this video. If you haven't heard of Moasure, it's a game-changing measurement tool that makes measuring quick and easy and super accurate. We're going to use it later on our green, and you'll see that happening. Well, this is a green now that we're going to redesign in the next few weeks. I want to point out the problems and the reasons why we're doing it. The left hand side, we've got a lot of rock face with our next tee box on high ground. Water cascades across this surface onto this green right through the summer and winter. We've tried several times putting drainage on the high side to try to combat that, but the real problem with this green is the rock carries in underneath a bed of rock. So we're going to take the surface off this green, expose the rock, and then decide then what we're going to do. We're going to either build up on the green or either take it down. At this precise moment, we don't really know what's underneath. So once we find out what's underneath, then that'll dictate what we're going to do at the top. These trees behind me are all coming away, apart from this large pine specimen tree. That's going to be a feature of this hole. You can see the shadow on the green. This is round about 2 o'clock today, and the green's in half shadow. We need to eliminate that, because when you're growing turf, we need as much light and airflow as we can get. This drain is going to get filled in, piped and stoned, and then we're going to have a large runoff area from the level of the green down into a runoff area. Should be maybe about 6 to 8 feet. So that'll make this hole more difficult to pitch up onto. We're going to move it at least 5 meters to the right hand side to line it up more in the center of this fairway. Also, we're going to create mounds behind the green to give it a backdrop, because if you can see now, there's nothing behind it. It's just you're nearly looking straight through it onto the other fairway. Also, the bunker on the right is going to come to the front right hand side, and the green is going to be elevated by maybe 2 to 3 feet, and then sloping off to the right and sloping off to the left. Drainage is going to be then put around the left hand side to take any water coming from the high ground, and that's all going to happen in the near future. Today we're removing the turf off the green, and this turf we're going to be putting back down again. There's 400 metres square on this green. If I was scrapping that turf and buying in turf from, say, England or even in Northern Ireland, it would be roughly coming in about £8 to £10 a square metre. So you could be looking at $4 grand just for turf, and that's not counting the turf around the sides of the greens as well.
Very important that we cut the turf and be very careful with the turf, cutting it at 18 mil in depth and about 80 inches in length. That's easy handling for the guys. You can see we've got a lot of golfers helping us today, as well as my own green staff, to try to get the job done as quickly as we can.
Jim Wellwood, and I'm now leader of the wall gang. But the problem is that Terry, when they did the second on the Dufferin, he needed some help and he asked us would we help him out that day, and we did. All the wall gang turned up that Monday morning, and today was exactly the same. He planned to lift that green today, the 10th on the Ava, and he asked us would we mind helping him out, and you can see the progress. The labour force that we have today, it actually makes light work for Terry, doesn't it?
And for the viewers, do you want to let the viewers know what the wall gang is?
Well, the wall gang is actually a crowd of guys who, they're all over 75, and what we do is we just go around and restore the walls.
This is the root zone that has come off the green. The turf is growing on top of this. And I just want to show you the problems that we're going to face here. You can see the rocks exposed here. And this is where everybody wants to walk up and down to the next tee. So we're going to dig that out and rock break that up and dig it down, and then put a stone carpet in, and then a new root zone, so we then can maintain it then with verti draining and aeration work, hollow tying and sanding, because we really need this free draining, because this is a pedestrian walkway which is going to be getting a lot of traffic in the summertime and in the winter especially.
How you doing? I'm Philip, Assistant Course Manager here at Clandeboye. Today we're getting these pipes ready. We're going to fill this bit of drainage in here, this open drain, because the green's coming a lot closer to it now. We need to fill it in. This is going to be a runoff area. These pipes are bought locally and they're foot pipes. We're sticking 2 in because there's quite a flow goes down this river in the middle of the winter, so it'll take 2 of them to carry the water. So that's what we're doing now anyway.
This is definitely a subsoil that we're using to build up the foundation of the green. There's some grit in it through the profile that we've been top dressing one thing or another that's actually useful for us, but it'll compact really tight, and that's what we really need, compacting really tight, and then we'll put the drainage within that.
I'm David Jones. I'm the golf designer who's taking care of this green. We did a very successful remodel of the second green on the Dufferin 2 years ago, and now this is the 10th green on the Ava, which had similar problems. Difficult wet green with water coming in from one side where there's a very rocky shelf. Terry Crawford, the head greenkeepers, decided to review this. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise the level of this green platform the whole way around, create some drainage around both sides to deflect any incoming water, basically create a fairer, wider, drier, year-round playable green surface. Going quite well at the minute. The first bit of shaping's been done, with just a bit of refinement to do. Break some rock over there where you can hear the beating happening at the minute, and then get the drainage in and start building the green up, which is the usual USGA specification: 10 centimetre gravel layer, 30 centimetres of good quality root zone, and then you get that lovely perch water table, which gives you very good holding greens in the summer and free draining greens in the winter. So once that's done, this will be a more interesting, more dramatic green. Very, very long and thin in the past. Now it's more width to it. There's a nice new bunker coming in at the front, and the green's on 2 levels with a large number of pin positions, which will keep Terry happy.
We're just back in site now, and you can see the architect has already been here and he's left now, but we're just taking some levels across the green. You can see the theodolite sitting out on the right hand side. New levels have been created now, 2 tiers. We've shifted it slightly to make it not just as steep coming through here, but that'll be shown at a later video. So there was a 15-inch fall from the back to the front from this middle tier. So we're trying to reduce that, because if you could imagine a 15-inch fall from the back to the middle tier, then the middle tier run at about 8-inch fall. So showing 15 inches, 8 inches, the ball could be running off the front. Yeah. So we're bringing it back in now and cut and filling it back into level. That's level. You can see the little on the left hand side of the digger bucket there, that's laser level working from this theodolite. So when there's a green light on that, that's him pulling it level. So if you were over closer to it there, you'll see the green light, and once he sees the green light, he pulls, and that's level from this laser level. I think we're getting everything right now. Today, if we had one more day, all this shaping, and then he'll start doing the...
Weather's not too bad as well.
No, I'd like him to, at dinner time tomorrow, to be pulling the drainage through it.
Okay.
So if we get any wet... Yes, if we can get all the drainage through it, and even a bit of stone in that, if we get the wind, the rain that they're talking about.
Front to back? Or?
Yes, one main drain running right through. The architect's been here this morning, and he's going to move the bunker. The bunker's here. We're going to move it out to this white line, and you can see this is now the drainage. This is our main drain coming through the centre of the green. These diagonals coming off, this is what's called a herringbone system. This will be piped with a 6-inch pipe. Main drain going to 4-inch pipes, laterals, and then going to be stoned up with a 6 to 10 mil grit. This is the main drain going in now. This is about 18 to 20 inches in depth. And then the laterals run into it, so this is where we're at now. Today on site we're bringing in the 6 to 10 mil cut stone. You can see at the moment we have a herringbone system in the green. That's all run to a massive outlet. So we've got 100 mil pipes, 80 mil pipes coming into a 100 mil pipe, that's the main drain. Across the back here you can see it's scalloped this way a little bit. We're having a kick off at the back, a little fall off at the back. And this will be drained to a main drain, will be a 2-foot drain, 18 inches wide, catching all the water that's coming down from the higher ground. There'll be a couple of gully pots in the lower areas as well, even to just ensure that we get all the water. We don't want any water coming onto the green at all. It'll bypass left and right. We're going to break its back, going left and right. The guys are making a base at the moment for their stand, and that digger will sit on site here. We'll bring in all the 6 to 10 mil stone, and then that'll be layered out across the green at 100 mil depth. We have a lower tier and a higher tier. Once we get that product on, we'll start setting pegs to give us the correct depths, so we ensure that we've no hollows or no heights. Everything will be 100 mil across the top tier and bottom tier. We're just using a local 6 to 10 mil clean cut stone that's gone into the drains and then coming the whole way up through the profile. Years ago they would have had maybe a 20 mil stone and then a choker layer of maybe this, but they're doing away with choker layers now. They're just doing a full grade from the drains right up through the drains, right up through the 100 mil for drainage, so it's all uniformed. And then after we set it at 100 mil for drainage, uniform drainage, we'll then drop our Rootzone medium in on top of that. These are connectors that we use on field drainage or internal drainage on this green that we're using them. We're using 100 mil pipe. You can see 100 mil, 80 mil, 60 mil. We can cut that for different pipe sizes. We use this because it stops any contamination when we set the pipe in. So there's no contamination and there are no joints to seal up. A joint is really tight, butted into this. And it just helps the water movement throughout the full profile of the green then, so the water moves straight through the green into the drains and out to the main outlet. You can just see that we've laid the turf out on plastic sheeting. This is down now 2 weeks and I just wanted to see, you can see now the root structure already, even on the plastic. And you can see along the edges where it's trying to grow in next to the turf beside it. It wouldn't be too long of knitting in. It's looking pretty well at this stage. We've sprayed a fungicide across it just to make sure it doesn't get any disease while it's on. I don't want to really have this sitting on this plastic for much more than 4 weeks at the most. We're into 2 weeks now. The construction's taking a little bit longer with the weather. The turf itself, we've done an aeration program on it about 6 weeks ago, a small perforation aeration program to allow the bit of water movement through it when it's sitting here, so at least it's percolating a little bit, so it's not saturated. It's not saturated. And we've laid it on a camber slope here, so any water now moves through the plastic to some of the turf at the bottom there. Now it's floating a little bit, but hopefully we'll remove that turf out of that saturated area.
At the minute we're bringing in the Rootzone. Rootzone's just arrived today. Yesterday we got in our 6 to 8 mil grit, 4 inches over the top of the drains. That's just basically to stop any sand percolating down through and into your drainage to block it. That's the reason why we put a grit layer on. The sand that we're using is a 70-30. It's a 70% HS Masters, 20% soil and 10% organic matter. And we get a bit of organic matter introduced just to hold the moisture in the soil because there's no irrigation system in this green, so in the summertime we'd want it to be, you know, hold a bit of moisture retention so it doesn't discolour. The sand's going in at a 12-inch depth, compacted to 10, and then once that's done it will be raked out, healed in and then returfed.
Hello, I'm Alistair from Irwins Quality Aggregates. We supply Rootzone mixes and golf course sands. Clandeboye Golf Club had approached us in relation to sustainability. They had a new green which they wanted to build and wanted to see if there's anything we could do to help on that front. USGA greens traditionally use peat along with sand to form the Rootzone mix, and on this occasion we decided that we would introduce a green compost material rather than the peat. Obviously the green compost material is going to be from a more sustainable source. By using peat, you're interfering with peatlands. Peatlands are carbon sinks which help absorb carbon dioxide from the air, the store carbon, and when that's taken out, that gets released back into the atmosphere, which isn't good for the environment.
So here we are looking at the stage where we've got the root zone and the gravel layer on the drainage in the green. It's been really bad weather, so this is as far as we can go at the minute. But the green I've adapted the green slightly here and there to try and give the maximum pin positions. So you can see now this nice front section which is marked out with the white dotted line. We've got a nice pin position here which is well protected by the bunker that's going to be at the front. And then 2 or 3 more out on that reasonably accessible front edge where people can reach quite easily, be about 130 or 40 metres from the main tee to that area. And then we have this nice slope and swale going through the green here, which is quite long here. It's only a rise of about 8 inches, but in this place it's over about 3 metres, slightly steeper in here to protect this back right section. And then once we get up here, we have a reasonably flat back area again with 3 or 4 pin positions on it. So I'm happy with the way this has worked out. The membership and the club were very anxious that it wasn't too severe. I was anxious that it wasn't a pancake. So I think we've got the balance just about right now. Still a lot of work, as you can see on the surrounds. You know, we had to do some rock breaking out here. We've got drainage issues coming off the slope there and at the back. But all that drainage will now go in and everything will be directed around the front and back of the green into the stream that runs around down the right hand side. So going well so far. So Terry Crawford and his team will start re-turfing this probably tomorrow. They'll be able to start from the centre, work out towards the edges, and the contractor will be back later in the week, hopefully if we get some drying weather over the next few days, to start shaping in these surrounds so that the tie-in of the topsoil and root zone around the green can be finished off, and the whole complex then has the rest of the winter to mature.
Welcome to Irwins. For those of you that saw our last video on Clandeboye's Green, this one is going to be a little bit more in depth, and we're going to be looking at some of the more sustainable aspects of the process that we've looked into this time for Clandeboye Golf Club. We're in Irwin's yard here today to show you how USGA Rootzone mix is made. We'll start with a fine sand which I've taken from this pile over here. This is a coarser sand. This is known as screen gravel, and you can see in the screen gravel here, it looks not much better than muck. You've got 20 mil right down to, at the finer end, silts and clays. We combine these and mix them through our washing plant. So we've just put in a shovelful of the coarser material. We're now bringing in a slightly finer material. The two of these materials get blended, and that enables us to get the right matrix and the right mix between coarse and fine materials so that we can have the proper grading for the Rootzone mix. The sand and gravel comes up through the conveyor. The gravel gets washed out, and you can see down below where the gravel is falling into the different sizes of bins. The sand is then well washed, and from that put into a slurry and goes into this hydrosizing tank. From the hydrosizing tank it basically, that sizes it and takes off all the finer material, all the silts and clays that you don't want in the sand, which is basically no good for drainage or no good for good root growth. And that is all taken away into our settlement ponds over here. From the settlement ponds, it settles out and then back round into the lagoon for reuse again. So it's a continuous cycle, and it's a sustainable cycle. After we've washed all the gravels out of the sand then gets split in two different parts. Here, coming through the hydrosizer, is our USGA sand. The USGA sand is essentially a 0.25 to 1.4 mil sand. There's about 7% between 1 and 1.4 mil and less than 20% under 250 microns. That's perfect for USGA construction as we're using in Clandeboye. The other split here is our Zone 3 sand, which is primarily a fairway sand. All the material, all the fine material which doesn't fit the spec for the Zone 3 or the USGA sand gets washed into our pond system, and you would have seen from up above there's a pipe goes across into our ponds here, and that's basically full of fine sand, silt and clays which are no good for golf construction. This is our HS Master Sands, or USGA sand as we would call it. You can see it's really clean. When I go like that there, you can actually see the individual particles of the sand, and there's no silt coming onto my hand. That's if it was a dirty sand, that would be staining quite badly, as we saw before with the feedstock. So all the fine silt and clays have been washed out of it. This is the green compost that we're using in the Rootzone mix for Clandeboye. It's made from green waste. It's got more nutrients than peat, and it's a sustainable product. Obviously, there are problems with the peat bogs, and everybody knows about them being carbon sinks. So we don't want to be involved in that, and we would much rather use a much more sustainable product like the green compost. The benefit of this is as well is that it's got loads of nutrients in it, and it helps establish the greens quicker. What we've just done here is we've brought up a load of compost. We're going to mix the sand with the compost at the correct ratio, and then once that's all reasonably well mixed through, what we'll do is we'll put it through the trommel machine, which is over here. The brushes keep the screens clean, and because the screens are cleaned all the time, it means you're getting a really efficient screening process. So the sand and compost mix gets fed into the bin. It then goes into the middle of the screen. As it turns round, the finer material falls through, goes along the conveyor and into the pile. So it basically means that you're getting a really well mixed material with no big particles in it, and the big particles can be a bit of a headache for the guys if they're trying to make a lovely smooth green. See, this is the mixed material, the sand mixed with the compost. You can see that it's beautifully well mixed, lovely and fine, and you've no big particles in it, so great to work with. This is the waste product which comes off the other side of the trommel. So this has got the bigger material in it that the greenkeepers, they don't want in their mixes, because when they're trying to smooth out the green, these can basically put score marks across the top of the surface, or they can have little bumps in it which they don't want. So by us screening it as well as this here, it makes their life an awful lot easier. There's nothing wasted here. The fine sands are taken away, and they tend to be used in fillers for the likes of the horticultural market. And then you've got your silts and clays get piled up at the back. When they eventually dry out well enough, that tends to be used for fill around construction sites.
Part now we're just laying down the line to give us a straight line towards the tee. Always lay the turf towards the tee, not across the green, because you're mostly putting up the green rather than across. So that's what we're doing now, and then we're going to just get the turf down. We're just getting this swale done at the moment.
Just assessing where the edge of the stone carpet is, and we're putting a white line around it so we can then turf to it. We have to ensure that we're on the stone carpet.
CRL contracts manager, just down at Clandeboye here, where the guys have got the surrounds and the rear swale on the green here, doing the drainage here at the moment. Weather's slightly sticky at the moment. We could do with a bit of dry wind to help us along, but the guys are putting the pipes in here today. Everything's all shaped. Water's all going ahead in the right direction. So all we're left to do now is stone up, put a bit of Rootzone over the whole area, and then it's ready for turfing.
I'm just walking across our turf that we're going to be putting down our surrounds. This is our longer turf that was lifted off the surrounds of the green and the approach. And you can see we've had a fair bit of fusarium disease on it. You can see there's just a typical bit of fusarium here with a mycelium around the outsides of it, taking the centre part out. I just want to talk a wee bit about the disease. You can see the disease just not as apparent on the shorter grass. This is our greens turf. Now we're in against the hedge here, where maybe the wind and the airflow is a lot less than across at the other side. But when we come down to our longer grass, it's more apparent, the disease on it. Let's just come down here, because with the longer grass, the airflow can't get in, so the dew lies longer on the longer grass and we can't get the airflow in underneath it. So you can see here there's a lot of disease in this wee area, but this is lying wet for all day, every day, because with no manpower to take the dew off these areas. You can see today we've now introduced the drainage pipe. We've a 100mm pipe on the main drain going right round, and then we've introduced a small toe drain right round. That's an 80mm or 60mm pipe going round the edge of the green and back out to the 100mm pipe. That'll catch any water coming of this little nose that we've created here. So what's going to happen now, the pipe's in, 20mm stone is going in on the larger pipe on the main drain. A 6 then to 10mm grit then is going on the toe drain, and then when the 6 to 10mm grit is just uniformly put across the whole entire area here, right up through this walkway. So we're trying to make this as free draining as we can. Then there'll be a foot of Rootzone going on it, then 12 inches of Rootzone going on it, and then returfed. Since our last visit, we've taken away a couple of, they were just ropey enough trees. We thought we'd keep them just as a visual look, but we just felt that when we took them away, it just opened up the whole aspect of the green. They were just across here. So you can see now the whole area is clear. We might plant a couple of trees on the other side of the fairway just to kind of break it up. We're going to remove this bridge. This is an eyesore, we're taking that away. Conditions is just not favourable today. You can see that sort of muck stuck to your feet. We've got the contractors in, but we're just doing as little manoeuvring about as we can with machinery. We're just all handwork. The boys are just putting in the drainage. I just want to show you the drainage now that's going into the bunker. So we're catching the bunker drainage into this main drain coming right round, then which is going to a gully and down at the bottom. You can see that the guys are just doing a lot of handwork here, which is very slow compared to machinery work. We're just using this device which is called a Moasure. It's a new measuring device, and you can see all the different angles and stuff on it. We're just doing the circumference of this green. This will give us an accuracy then for providing and purchasing the turf. This is doing the calculation.
Perimeter 67.36 and the area of the green 285.33. You can load that and put it into your folder. Perimeter. Save it.
You can see now that I'm just marking out the apron and collar. This will be our new frost screen and collar. Fairly flat plateau area here, coming in round. Turf's going to be Olympic gold short, 75% fine fescue, and the remainder dwarf penny rye. So you can, if you could just follow me around this way, this is all going to be collar turf, Olympic gold, the whole way right round that, 1.5 meters out. The rest of this is going to be just a cheaper form of our ryegrass mix. So David, what's your views in this bunker, how we're going to form it?
Well, we got to, you can see that, you know, the surrounds are okay.
Yeah.
You've got enough slope in the surrounds to deflect any water coming in. So obviously, you know, you don't want any washouts in the bunker. It's too steep and too high at the minute. So the floor is going to need to come up a bit.
So we're going to extend the bottom of it?
Well, the likelihood is that the front edge will be peeled back a bit, and we'll fill that up so it's a more gradual rise up from the floor of the bunker. The drains get slightly contaminated there, so that's going to need to be redone so we'll get a good clean drainage.
This is the turf getting delivered now from Tiller's Turf. So that's ARS, that's called Arena Sport. Let's see, more of a ryegrass mix in this, which will stand the hard wearing. Yeah, that's very good now. This is the process we're at now, we're just laying the turf. This is Arena Short. You can see the pile is just 16 mil. That's fescue and rye mix. You can see these guys laying it in here, and then what we'll do once we get that done, we'll just cut around that white line, and that'll give it the shape then. This is the 11th tee on the Ava, the competition tee and the green marker tee. You can see this old stone wall, we'll be replacing this or fixing this up, but you can see there's about 1.5 feet of height difference between there and the level of the tee. He's setting the level of the tee now, but I'll just show you. He's set a theodolite machine up here that just rotates and sends a beam out to the appliance on the digger bucket. I'll just show you how that works. He's following a line here, a beeping line. You can see when it's green, that's at level. Green's level, red and amber is high and low. So this is the back of the tee now, and I feel we need to take some of this garbage off the left hand side so you can see at least the dog leg of the fairway, not aiming into the hazard, the drain. So I'm just going to home in on it. So I'm standing right in the middle of the tee now, and I can only see a little bit of the corner of that fairway. So there'll be some of this stuff back here taken away by a digger just to see what it looks like. I'm just up here with our club manager Andrew Adair. We're just discussing this, a bit of blackthorn, a bit of just rubbish the trees that have just grown up over this last few years. It's a very difficult par 4 we've got here, and from the tee we can't see the fairway at all. We can just see the right hand side of the fairway. So just want to ask Andrew. Andrew's one of the better golfers in the club, and he may have a different opinion on it.
Terry, I think you're doing a great job here. I think it's good that we're looking at this from the point of view from a visitor coming to play this hole. When you stand back in the tee, you have no idea where the fairway goes. In fact, you see a flag out in the far right, which is the 12th green, and a visitor could be confused and think that's where he's aiming. Getting a little bit of line of sight and a little bit of fairway can only better what's already a great hole.
You can see here the guys are just turfing the banks. All the levels are pre-done with the digger to near enough, and then we'll just come in and add our own root zone and just to level it out and get everything just looking sweeping nice, so that all the undulations and stuff fit in well with the surrounding area. Nothing looks out of place, and the finished product you need to really have it looking as if it was just originally there. You know, whenever you're adding the green to a certain area, you have to make sure that the mounding and stuff all around it ties in with the surrounding area, just to make it look natural.
We're just going to measure inside the perimeter of this white line because we're just going to order more turf. We just find now that this arena sport that is about 25 mil long in height, and it's 50-50 rye against this arena gold. So this whole area now we're going to measure inside the perimeter of the white line. I just done a calculation with my own meterage steps, and I got 406, and I'm sure then if we take the bunker out of it, it'll be a bit less. So I think we'd probably be working off yours, maybe definitely more of an accurate 436, and that would give us something to play with for cuttings and one thing or another, which would be very good. So I think it's a great wee article. We're just creating a nice flow for the water to move down through the surface of when we've laid the turf on it, and all the water should be coming down through this area that we've scalloped out, down into this gully pot,
this gully pot's high at the moment. You can see it's this height at the moment. But what we need to do is when I get this all raked out and the water moving in this way into it, this will be cut right down low, and then this will be about maybe 4 inches underneath the ground so the water can move into it. And then it's got holes that we can open this out and clean the gully out. And that's straight down into the main drains that's running round and underneath the green. We can just have another look at another one then. That's a larger one. We've got a smaller one across here. Again, all the water will be moving down through here, coming off the side of the green, down through this hollow. Again, we'll just be removing this one, cutting it right down below, and then making sure all the water moves into it, and we get a fall at least 4 inches beneath the surface here so the water can get moving into it. Once the water moves down through here, there's a main pipe under here that just goes straight, this is it here, goes straight out into our outfall. A travel lane that we've been bringing in all the spoil, the stone, the root zone, the turf, and you can see the ruts that it's made. Now, on the way out, the guys are going to reinstate this, pull a lot of this mud off, and then we'll blanket stone the whole thing. Quite a bit of expense to try to reinstate it back to the way it was again, but it has to be done. But you can just show you the haul route, how much damage caused by bringing in maybe roughly about 600 tonne of different materials on site. That's the damage it can cause. But it's out of play, which is handy enough, and we'll be able to get it reinstated for the spring. You can just see the depth of the ruts that's been carrying a lot of this tonnage through here, but it's been a godsend, and it's out of the way. But it's definitely it's right down to the hard surface now, so we can go no deeper. So that'll be filled up with stones, and then all leveled out, seeded over, and it should be in good condition for the start of the season.
How you doing? I'm Peter from Lindsay Turf Care. I've popped down to check on the turf that we supplied the Clandeboye Golf Club. We are the main agent for Tiller's Turf here in Northern Ireland, and we was just coming down to pop down to see Terry and the boys and see how they were getting on. But after sales and make sure everything's gone rightly, and it all seems to have gone to plan so far, for sure.
You can see we're just reinstating this track now. And this will be all stoned right up to the 3 or 4 inches of the top. This is a haul route that brought in all the material. At least 500 tonne plus came in here. Just shaping out the bunker now, getting the white line is the sand, where you'll see the sand, this top line from the tee box. And we'll have rivets from there, from the white line up to the top. But where you see the white line through the base of the bunker, that's where we'll be playing out of sand. You can see now we're just rerouting the path. So what we've got now is from the edge of the green a slope down, and then that'll valley out, and then all this area here will be all turf, and then the new path going sweeping out right round it. See the beach hedge there? I'm going to cut the beach hedge down to the same height now, down to about 1 metre, so we can see then the fairway from this tee box now. That'll give me a proper line. Before nobody could see round that corner, but now we're going to expose the fairway, so at least we can see it. Before you see nothing of that fairway, only the right hand side. They put a bell round that corner for safety, and we didn't, and wonder the reason why we put a bell round that corner, because nobody could see round the corner. At least now we can. Yeah, just want to talk a little bit about this bunker. We've revetted the face of the bunker with our own turf.
Explain to the viewers, sorry, what revetting is.
Revetting is turf cut around about maybe 8 inches wide. Maybe about, this turf here is maybe about 52 inches in thickness, and they're laid on top of each other, so you've got grass to grass the whole way up. That forms your shape
And height, you can see the way the height difference. There's less turf here, more turf over here. That gives you your shape, your perimeter of what way you want the bunker formed. And then you back your turf and mounds against it.
Just for the viewers, Terry, why is that done?
Well, that's the only way that you could shape a bunker. You can't shape a bunker any other way. You have to have some sort of reinforcement for the soil behind it. And then where the sand will come up to around about here. On a links golf course, guys revet right to the base of the bunker. Us parkland guys, we would just revet this sort of shape right round to give us our circumference and the shape of the bunker. So sand then will be brought up to here, maybe around about here. So from the tee box you'll see a flash of sand coming right up. We've just got a main drain right through the centre of the bunker. The floor of the bunker then will be done then with a 50mm resin bunker lining, which allows the water to flow through, stop any contamination from soil or stones coming up through that. It's the exact same sort of stuff that would be used in a play park, for kids' play park. So we would put that in a 50mm, spread it all out, put our sand in, and that would keep the quality of sand in cleaner condition for longer. You probably get about 6-7 years out of a bunker then, rather than us coming in and throwing sand on top of just a soil base like this, where we'd only get maybe 3 years out of it because you have contamination. Oh, well, this is the end of February now, and I'm just on the 10th tee on the Ava. The wall builders at Clandeboye, the volunteers, they've just done this little wall across here. We set a wee steps in. We can get a wee view of the loch behind that. So when the people are waiting now to play their shot onto this new 10th green, they have a wee chance of having a view across the loch. So we'll just go down to the green and see how it's bedded in. We're on this elevated tee now that we lifted and levelled, and we took away a lot of the debris on the left hand side, the scrub trees and stuff, exposes the right hand side of this fairway, which definitely enhances the tee shot now. You can see some of the shade problems we've had here. This is a specimen tree, but you can still see we've got shaded on the green. But before that, with several other trees, which was definitely blocking a lot of light out. But we wanted to keep that tree because it's a beautiful tree. So this is us on the green now. We started this green on the 3rd of October. And now this is the 28th of February, and you can see now we're well ahead of ourselves. The temperature's been quite good, and this year's been a blessing compared to the previous years. It was really wet. You can maybe see the turfs are netted in well. You can still see the squares on them. A few top dressings, a bit of holotine on that. Some fertiliser, and the temperature rising up to above 10, maybe 12, and things should be kicking off really well. I'm delighted with the surface, the trueness of it, and the members are delighted also the way it looks. I want to thank the club and council for their input into the building of this golf green. Some other people too, which is the architect David Jones for design. We've got CRL, the contractors who helped construct it. We have WD Irwins who produced the sand for us, Tiller's Turf, and definitely I want to thank my green staff and also the volunteers as stone wallers.